The sunlight streamed through the sheer curtains, casting a warm glow across our bedroom. I stretched lazily, savoring the rare tranquility of a Saturday morning with no urgent tasks or responsibilities. Emily, my wife, was still sleeping peacefully beside me, her auburn hair fanned out across the pillow. I couldn't help but smile, feeling incredibly grateful for the life we had built together over the past 10 years. I quietly slipped out of bed and padded to the kitchen to make us breakfast. As I brewed coffee and prepared our favorite omelets, I reflected on our journey. We had our share of ups and downs, but we always found our way back to each other. Today, I was determined to make it special, a celebration of our love. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the kitchen, and soon the sound of soft footsteps approached. Emily appeared in the doorway, rubbing her eyes and smiling sleepily. "Good morning, love," she said, her voice soft and warm. "Morning, beautiful. I made your favorite, spinach and feta omelette," I replied, pouring her a cup of coffee. She walked over and kissed me on the cheek. "You're the best, you know that." We sat at the kitchen table, enjoying our breakfast and the simple pleasure of each other's company. The conversation flowed easily, like it always did on mornings like this. "Do you remember our first date?" Emily asked, a mischievous glint in her eye. I chuckled. "How could I forget? You spilled your drink all over me." She laughed, shaking her head. "I was so nervous, but you were so sweet about it." "I had to be. I knew even then that you were special," I said, reaching across the table to take her hand. After breakfast, we decided to take a walk in the park. The air was crisp and fresh, the perfect kind of morning for a leisurely stroll. We held hands, talking about everything and nothing, just enjoying being together. "I've been thinking about our anniversary," Emily said as we walked. "I want to do something really special this year." "I was thinking the same thing," I replied. "Maybe a weekend getaway? Just the two of us." Her eyes lit up. "That sounds perfect. Somewhere quiet, where we can just relax and be together." We continued to plan our trip as we walked, both of us excited about the prospect of spending quality time together. It felt like the perfect way to celebrate our love and the life we had built. As we headed back home, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of contentment. Life wasn't always perfect, but moments like this made all the struggles worth it. Emily squeezed my hand, and I looked over at her, smiling. "I love you," I said simply. She smiled back, her eyes full of warmth. "I love you too." Back home, we spent the rest of the day doing little things we enjoyed. We read books, watched a movie, and cooked dinner together. It was a day filled with love and simple pleasures, a reminder of why we had chosen each other. That night, as we lay in bed, Emily snuggled up against me, her head resting on my chest. "Today was perfect," she murmured. "It was," I agreed, kissing the top of her head. "Here's to many more perfect mornings together." As we drifted off to sleep, I felt a deep sense of peace. No matter what challenges lay ahead, I knew we would face them together, just as we always had. And that was enough. After breakfast, I kissed Emily goodbye and headed to my office downtown. Today was the day I would finalize the biggest business deal of my career. The sun was shining brightly as I walked into the modern glass building, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. I rode the elevator up to the 15th floor, where our offices were located. My assistant, Sarah, greeted me with a smile as I stepped out. "Good morning, Mr. Harris. The conference room is all set up, and the clients should be arriving shortly," she said, handing me a stack of documents. "Thanks, Sarah. And please call me Jack," I replied, giving her a nod. "Everything ready for the presentation?" "Yes, I double-checked everything." "You've got this," she said, her confidence boosting my own. I walked into the conference room and took a deep breath. The large table was set with neat stacks of papers, water bottles, and pens. The projector was ready, displaying the first slide of my presentation. I glanced at my watch. Only 10 minutes until showtime. As the clients began to arrive, I greeted each one with a firm handshake and a warm smile. There was Mr. Thompson, the CEO of Thompson Industries, a tall man with a commanding presence. Beside him was his CFO, Mrs. Diaz, a sharp-eyed woman who missed nothing. And then there was Mr. Lee, the head of their marketing department, who seemed friendly and approachable. Good to see you all, I said, ushering them to their seats. Shall we get started? The meeting began smoothly. I walked them through the proposal, highlighting the benefits and addressing any concerns. The atmosphere was professional, but there was an underlying tension. This deal was crucial for both our companies. As I wrapped up the presentation, I opened the floor for questions. Mrs. Diaz was the first to speak. Jack, we're very impressed with what you've presented. However, we do have some concerns about the timeline. How can you ensure that the project will be completed on schedule? She asked, her tone serious. I nodded, expecting this question. We've anticipated potential delays and have built in buffer periods to handle any unforeseen issues. Additionally, our project manager has a proven track record of delivering on time. We're confident that we can meet the deadline. Mr. Thompson leaned forward, looking thoughtful. And what about cost overruns? This is a significant investment for us. We understand that, Mr. Thompson. We've conducted a thorough analysis and have set up a contingency fund to cover any unexpected expenses. Our goal is to stay within budget while delivering top-quality results, I assured him. There was a moment of silence as they exchanged glances. Finally, Mr. Thompson spoke up, a smile spreading across his face. Well, Jack, it seems you've thought of everything. We're ready to move forward, he said, extending his hand. I shook his hand firmly, feeling a wave of relief and triumph. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. We're excited to work with you. As the meeting concluded and the clients left, I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Sarah walked in, a huge smile on her face. You did it, Jack. Congratulations, she said, giving me a quick hug. Thanks, Sarah. I couldn't have done it without your help, I replied, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment. The rest of the day passed in a blur of phone calls and emails as we finalized the details. By the time I left the office, the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the city. I felt a renewed sense of purpose and excitement for the future. Driving home, I couldn't wait to share the news with Emily. As I walked through the door, she greeted me with a warm hug. How did it go? She asked, her eyes filled with anticipation. We did it, Em. The deal is sealed, I said, grinning from ear to ear. She beamed, wrapping her arms around me. I knew you would. I'm so proud of you. We celebrated that night with a bottle of champagne and a homemade dinner. As we clinked glasses, I felt incredibly grateful for her unwavering support. This was just the beginning of a new chapter in our lives, one filled with promise and possibility. I arrived home earlier than usual, eager to celebrate with Emily. The drive back had been filled with thoughts of her smile when I shared the news. As I pulled into the driveway, I noticed her car was gone. Strange, I thought. She usually leaves a note if she goes out. Stepping inside, the house was unusually quiet. I called out her name, but there was no response. A sense of unease settled in my stomach. Emily was always good about keeping me in the loop about her plans, especially on weekends. I checked my phone, hoping for a message from her, but there was nothing. After an hour of waiting, my worry grew. I decided to call her. The phone rang and rang, but went straight to voicemail. Trying to stay calm, I left a message. Hey, Emily, it's me. Just got home and noticed you're not here. Give me a call when you get this. Love you. I sat on the couch, my mind racing with possibilities. Was she stuck somewhere? Had something happened? Just as I was about to call her friends, I heard the garage door open. Relief washed over me as I rushed to the door. Emily walked in, looking disheveled and distracted. Her clothes were dirty, with grass stains on her jeans. Before I could ask where she had been, she rushed past me, mumbling something about needing a shower. Emily, wait, where have you been? I asked, my voice filled with concern. She paused at the bottom of the stairs, avoiding my eyes. I had a flat tire, Jack. One of the teachers from school helped me change it. I just need to clean up. Are you okay? I asked, still feeling uneasy. You didn't call or anything. I'm fine, she said quickly. I just need a shower. As she headed upstairs, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Her behavior was unusual, and the dirt on her clothes didn't seem to match her story. My curiosity got the better of me, and I followed her to our bedroom. Her jeans and underwear lay in a heap on the floor, and I noticed something that made my heart drop. Soiled white cotton panties with marks that suggested infidelity. My mind raced as I tried to process what I was seeing. I knocked on the bathroom door, my voice trembling. Emily, we need to talk. Now. She opened the door slightly, looking at me with a mix of guilt and defiance. Jack, can't it wait? I really need to clean up. No, it can't wait. What's going on? This isn't just about a flat tire, is it? I demanded, feeling a surge of anger and betrayal. She sighed, her shoulders slumping. Jack, it's not what you think. It just happened, okay. I didn't plan it. I stared at her, trying to keep my voice steady. What do you mean, it just happened? Did you cheat on me? Her silence was all the answer I needed. I felt a wave of nausea as the reality of her betrayal hit me. Who was it? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Tony, the teacher who helped me, she admitted, tears filling her eyes. I'm so sorry, Jack. I took a step back, needing to distance myself from her. I can't believe this. How could you do this to us? She reached out to me, but I stepped away. Jack, please. It didn't mean anything. It was a mistake. A mistake. I echoed, feeling a mix of anger and hurt. You betrayed me, Emily. I need some time to think. I turned and walked out of the room, my mind reeling. I couldn't believe that the woman I loved and trusted had betrayed me in such a way. As I sat on the couch, trying to make sense of everything, I realized that our lives would never be the same. As I stood in the hallway, I noticed dirt and grass stains on Emily's clothes. A knot formed in my stomach. I followed her to our bedroom, where she hastily threw her jeans and underwear on the floor before heading to the shower. My eyes widened as I saw the unmistakable evidence of infidelity, soiled clothes with telltale marks. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. I pushed open the bathroom door, my voice trembling with anger and betrayal. Emily, what the hell is going on? She turned to face me, her expression a mix of guilt and defiance. The confrontation that followed shattered my world as she confessed to an affair, downplaying it as a meaningless act. I felt a surge of rage and disbelief, unable to comprehend how she could betray me like this. The next few days were a blur of anger, sorrow, and confusion. Emily tried to explain, to justify her actions, but her words only deepened my pain. I couldn't look at her without seeing the betrayal. Our once perfect home now felt like a prison of broken dreams. I spent hours in my office, trying to lose myself in work, but the weight of what had happened was inescapable. Friends and family reached out, sensing something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to share the details. How could I explain that the person I trusted most had torn my heart to pieces? Desperate for a change of scenery, I decided to visit my brother in Dallas. I needed distance from the painful memories and a chance to clear my head. The drive was long and gave me plenty of time to reflect on what had happened and what I wanted for my future. Arriving in Dallas, my brother greeted me with open arms and a sympathetic ear. Over the next few days, we talked about everything: our childhood, our dreams, and my shattered marriage. His support was a balm to my wounded soul, and slowly, I began to see a path forward. Returning home, I felt a renewed sense of determination. I knew that rebuilding my life wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face the challenges ahead. Emily and I had a long, painful conversation about our future. It was clear that trust could not be easily restored, and we agreed to separate. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of change. I focused on my work, took up new hobbies, and reconnected with old friends. I even started seeing a therapist to help process my emotions and rebuild my sense of self-worth. Gradually, I began to find joy in the little things again. As I stood in my now redecorated living room, I realized that this was a new beginning. The scars of the past would always be there, but they no longer defined me. I was ready to embrace the future, one step at a time. Desperate for a change of scenery, I decided to visit my brother in Dallas. I needed distance from the painful memories and a chance to clear my head. The drive was long and gave me plenty of time to reflect on what had happened and what I wanted for my future. The Texas landscape blurred past as I drove, my mind replaying the events of the past few days. I couldn't shake the image of Emily's tear-streaked face as she confessed, the pain in her eyes almost matching my own. I needed this trip to clear my mind and find some clarity. Arriving in Dallas, my brother Mike greeted me with open arms and a sympathetic ear. "Jack, it's good to see you," he said, pulling me into a bear hug. "You look like you've been through the ringer." I sighed, feeling the weight of the past week. "You could say that. Thanks for letting me crash here for a while." "Of course, man. That's what brothers are for," he replied, leading me into his cozy apartment. We spent the first evening catching up over takeout and beer. Mike's easygoing nature was a balm to my frazzled nerves. He had always been the one I turned to in times of trouble, and this was no different. "So, tell me what happened," Mike said gently, leaning back on the couch. I took a deep breath, recounting the story of Emily's betrayal and the chaos that followed. Mike listened without interrupting, his face growing more serious with each word. "That's rough, Jack. I'm really sorry you're going through this," he said when I finished. "But you know you'll get through it, right? You're stronger than you think." "I hope so," I replied, staring at my beer bottle. "Right now, it just feels like everything's falling apart." Mike clapped a hand on my shoulder. "You've got this, bro. And you've got me. We'll figure it out together." Over the next few days, we spent a lot of time talking. Mike took me to some of his favorite spots in Dallas, the vibrant arts district, the bustling farmers market, and a quiet lakeside park where we could just sit and think. Each place gave me a bit more clarity, a bit more peace. One evening, as we sat on the balcony of his apartment, watching the city lights twinkle below, Mike turned to me with a serious expression. "You know, Jack, you can't let this define you. What happened with Emily? It's awful, but it doesn't change who you are. You're still the same guy who built a successful career and a life you're proud of." I nodded, absorbing his words. "I know. It's just hard to see past the hurt right now." "That's understandable," he said. "But you will. Take it one day at a time. Focus on what makes you happy, what you want for your future. The rest will follow." Mike's words stuck with me as the days passed. Slowly, I began to see a path forward. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I also knew I had the strength to rebuild my life. When it was time to head back home, I felt a sense of renewed determination. As I hugged Mike goodbye, I felt grateful for his support and the time I'd spent in Dallas. "Thanks for everything, Mike," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "Anytime, Jack. You know where to find me if you need anything," he replied with a smile. The drive back home felt different, lighter somehow. I knew there were still challenges ahead, but I also knew I had the strength and support to face them. The journey to Dallas had been exactly what I needed to start healing and looking toward the future. Returning home from Dallas, I felt a renewed sense of determination. I knew that rebuilding my life wouldn't be easy, but I was ready to face the challenges ahead. The familiar sights of my hometown greeted me as I drove through the streets, feeling both comforting and bittersweet. As I walked into the house, the silence was almost deafening. Memories of Emily were everywhere, but instead of feeling like a prison, the house now felt like a canvas, ready for a fresh start. I took a deep breath and started making a list of things I needed to change. The first step was redecorating. I wanted to make the space my own again. I spent the next few days repainting the walls, rearranging the furniture, and adding new decorations that reflected my personality. It felt therapeutic, like I was reclaiming my space and my life. One afternoon, while I was putting up new curtains, my friend Mark stopped by. He had been checking in on me regularly since everything happened. "Hey, Jack, I brought some beers. Thought you might need a break," he said, holding up a six-pack with a grin. I smiled, grateful for his company. "Thanks, Mark. I could use one." We sat on the porch, sipping our beers and catching up. Mark had always been a good friend, and his support meant a lot to me. "So, how's it going with the house?" he asked, looking around. "Better," I said, nodding. "It's starting to feel like my own place again." "That's good to hear. And how are you holding up?" Mark's tone was gentle, knowing the depth of my pain. I took a deep breath. "It's been tough, but I'm getting there." The trip to Dallas really helped. Mike gave me a lot of good advice. Mike's a solid guy. I'm glad you have him, Mark said, taking a sip of his beer. You know you've got me too. We're all here for you, Jack. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it, I replied, feeling a surge of gratitude. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my routine. I threw myself in my work, finding solace in the structure and purpose it provided. I also took up new hobbies, like hiking and photography, things I had always wanted to try, but never found the time for. One Saturday, while exploring a local trail, I ran into an old acquaintance, Sarah. We had known each other from a few community events, but had never really connected. Jack, is that you? She called out, waving as she approached. Sarah, long time no see, I replied, surprised but pleased to see a friendly face. We walked together, talking about everything from our jobs to our favorite books. It was refreshing to have a normal, enjoyable conversation. You know, there's a local photography club that meets every other Thursday, Sarah said as we neared the end of the trail. You should join us sometime. It's a great way to meet new people and learn new techniques. That sounds like fun. I'll definitely check it out, I said, feeling a spark of excitement. Joining the photography club turned out to be a wonderful decision. I met new friends, learned new skills, and found a new passion that brought joy back into my life. One evening, after a particularly satisfying club meeting, I sat in my newly redecorated living room, reflecting on how far I had come. The scars of the past were still there, but they no longer defined me. I had built a new life, one filled with promise and possibility. As I looked around, I realized that this was truly a new beginning. I had faced my pain, leaned on my friends and family, and found new passions and joys. The future was uncertain, but I felt ready to embrace whatever came next. I raised my glass to the empty room, a silent toast to new beginnings and the strength to keep moving forward.